Hey everybody, Joe Linder with Joe's Phenomenal here, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be tackling chicken fettuccine Alfredo.
Fettuccine fish pasta!
This is definitely one of the more decadent dishes we've dealt with on the channel so far, but nevertheless, it is delicious. So let's get into this. But if you're using thicker portions, I recommend scoring the chicken. Probably don't do that with your bare hands, like I just did. I'm gonna mix that up in there really good, get a nice, even coat. All right, so our chicken fettuccine Alfredo's actually got three components. We've got the pasta, we've got the sauce, and we've got the chicken.
We got the bone!
So what you're gonna wanna do first is get a pot of water boiling for the pasta and set your oven to broil for the chicken. And while all that's heating up, we can go ahead and get our chicken prepared. Okay, the first thing we gotta do is get our chicken laid out. As you see, I got a sheet pan with a grate over the top. Went ahead and sprayed that with non-stick, just so when we go to flip this stuff, it's gonna be a little bit easier for us. The seasoning we're gonna be using is a combination of garlic powder, pepper, rosemary, paprika, cilantro, and a little bit of salt. Go ahead and mix that all together. And then we're gonna season both sides of our chicken here. Remember, you don't wanna just season one side. Gotta do them both. On your chicken portions, you're gonna wanna be using some trimmed chicken breast. You don't want rib meat attached to it or anything like that. And once we got that all seasoned up, provided that we have the oven broiling already, we'll go ahead and throw that in. Make sure you give your oven about 10 minutes or so to get heated up. I'm using pretty thin portions here on the breast, but if you're using thicker portions, I recommend scoring the chicken a little bit just to make sure it cooks all the way through evenly. Okay, go ahead and get this in and get that cooking. Be sure to keep an eye on that, and we'll flip it about halfway through, probably right around 5 minutes.
Later.
All right, it's been about 5 minutes. Let's check on this. And that looks like it's ready to flip. And back into the oven, just for another few minutes.
2,000 years later.
All right, it's been about 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and check that chicken. And that looks ready. So we can pull that out of the oven and let it rest. All right, now that we got that chicken out of the oven, go ahead and transfer that over the cutting board. We're gonna let these sit here and rest just for a few minutes for all the juices inside to recongeal. That way it doesn't all run out and we don't end up with dry chicken. While the chicken's over there resting, we should have already had our water boiling here. And as you can see, it's ready. So we're gonna take a little bit of salt, add that into the water. And I like to mix in a little bit of olive oil. That way when our pasta goes in, it'll help it not stick to itself. So let's kind of whisk that in there a little bit to try to combine it. And then we'll go ahead and throw in our pasta. Right when you put that pasta in there, you're gonna wanna make sure you're stirring that around just a little bit because it'll try to stick initially. And we're gonna let this cook for just about 10 minutes or so. We want this al dente. We don't want it cooked all the way through. We don't want mushy pasta. That's a big no-no. So really, it's slightly undercooked. Another key to cooking pasta properly is to make sure you're using a large enough pot. Don't cram a whole bunch of pasta into a little tiny pot. You want it to have room in there to freely move around. Otherwise, if it's pushed against itself tightly, you're gonna end up with a big mass of stuck together pasta. If there's any question of the doneness of your pasta, you can always just pull out a little piece and you can just kind of check it out. You can almost tell by feeling it if it's too thick, or if you want, you just kind of take it out and you can taste it. And if it's still kind of hard in the middle, then you know it's not done. But remember, you do want it a little bit firm.
That's what she said.
But you don't want it crunchy. You don't necessarily have to stir this constantly, but you do want to check it once in a while. Get in there, move everything around a little bit, but you don't have to sit there and watch it all eagle-eyed or anything like that. Okay, just checked it, and that is cooked yet firm. So it's time to get it off the heat. So you want to get that to stop cooking. So let's go ahead and use our colander, get all the pasta out. And you're going to want to shoot it with a little bit of cold water here, just to get it to quit cooking. Probably don't do that with your bare hands, like I just did. See how loose that is? It's nice and loose, nothing sticking together. That's perfect. By the way, if this is your first time here and you want to learn some cool new recipes, get some kitchen tips and tricks, and all sorts of other kitchen related things, then start now by subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell so you never miss a thing. Okay, now we're on to the sauce. So you want to heat up a pan at medium-low. You probably do about a medium. First, you're going to want to throw in all your butter. For those of you who've never made Alfredo sauce and you wonder why people get heavy eating this, well, you're about to find out.
Get in my belly!
There's our butter. A lot of people use milk or half and half or something like that. On a recipe like this, it's heavy cream. Definitely you want heavy cream. So we're going to let that start melting a little bit. We're going to pour in our cream. And we're going to want to throw in our oregano and about half of our parsley. The oregano, we can use dry oregano. For the parsley, you're going to want to use fresh stuff. And just kind of whisk that in. We're going to want to slowly heat this up until we're simmering, which means we want it to bubble a tiny bit, but we do not want it to boil. For the butter, you can use salted or unsalted butter on this. Remember, if you're using salted butter, then you've got both salty butter and salty cheese. So there's no real reason to throw additional salt into that. Otherwise, you risk making everything too salty. At the very least, you can wait till you're done, and you can always add a little bit of salt in at the end if you need to. Once you see the butter and cream mixture start to bubble slightly, just like it is right now, you can add in your minced garlic. And we're just going to let that cook in there just for a couple of minutes, just to give the garlic a little chance to do something here. Really, all you got to give it is maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Because remember, we're still going to be cooking it while we're adding our cheese in. All right, once that's cooked in a little bit, we're going to add about 1/3 of our cheese. You don't want to throw the whole thing in all at once. I'm using grated Parmesan cheese. Probably a better idea to get fresh shaved cheese from the deli, but I'm kind of using what I had around here. Once you get that to mix in really well, then you can continue adding more cheese in. Just do it slowly. As you add in your cheese, you're going to see it start to thicken up really well. That's partially because you're heating the heavy cream and you're whipping it like this. And that's partly because we're inundating it with tons and tons of cheese. You might notice I haven't put the pepper in there yet. You're going to want to do that right at the end when it's finished. You don't want to cook it in here, because the sooner you put it in here, the darker you're going to make this, because all that black is going to bleed out of it as you cook it. And it's going to darken the sauce, which we don't want. Also, as you heat it up, it's going to lose some of its bite, and we don't want that either. Okay, we're going to actually put in about half of our remaining parsley. We're going to want to leave a little bit to garnish with at the end. Other than that, looks like Like we're ready for the pepper. Then we can take this off the heat. Now it's off the heat, we have to work quickly. We're gonna very quickly slice our chicken. This should be nice and rested by now. Okay, that sauce is off the heat. Now we can get our pasta in there. Gotta mix that up in there really good. Get a nice, even coat on all your pasta. And once you've done that, we'll be ready to plate. Which looks like we're just about ready. There's our pasta down, our chicken on top, and finish it off with a little fresh cut parsley. Well, you see, that wasn't too bad. It just takes a little bit of organization to get everything done at the same time. Just remember, the chicken takes the longest, so you want to get that started first. The pasta, not quite as long, so you do that second. And the sauce only takes a couple of minutes to do, so you can do that last. And remember, you got to go ahead and get everything started early. Get your oven preheated, and go ahead and start the heat on the water for your pasta. That way, as you complete each step, you're ready to go for the next one. Also remember, there's no rush once you have your chicken resting. And contrary to popular belief, the actual pasta noodles aren't supposed to be served hot. They're supposed to be served at room temperature. The sauce and the chicken, that's a different story. But the actual pasta itself, not so much. As always, if you look down in the description area of the video, I've got all the ingredients and all the measurements listed there for you. And if you go ahead and decide to try this recipe, I'd love to hear how it turned out down in the comments. Also, if you have any questions about this recipe or any others, or you try to do the recipe and have run into some problems, then feel free to reach out and I'll help you out in any way I possibly can. For more information about our company, you can go ahead and check out some of our other videos here on the channel, or you can visit us online at joesphenomenal.com. And I'd also like to take this time to express my extreme gratitude for you for coming out and checking out our video today. I know everybody's busy, and for you to take a couple minutes out of your day to check out our channel makes me feel greatly honored. Anyway, once again, my name is Joe Linder, and I hope you have a phenomenal day. Take it easy.